When the first Moto Razr phone was announced, I was so excited for its similar design to Moto Razr V3. Fast forward to 2023, and it feels like Motorola has settled for the same square design as most of the flip phones. But this design is more than acceptable because of its big external display and ability to do almost anything on it with one hand. So let's deep dive into the Moto Razr Plus 2024. Motorola has introduced a ton of features this year. It takes a learning curve to know all the features on the external display, but once you get the hang of it, customization on the external display is almost limitless. But it's not just customization, it's literally anything you can do on this display. 80 to 90% of the time I don't even open my phone. The only time I remember opening the phone is for settings that cannot be accessed on the external display, except for the quick settings, and the obvious one being cameras. This is like an ideal phone for a guy like me who has tiny hands. Using it one hand is perfect, hence perfect compactness. Along with apps, you can now also add any widgets if the app supports on the external display. Motorola has designed some amazing music animations on the cover screen. My favorite one being the retro cassette look. There were only two drawbacks I found. One being the music player felt little laggy. Not a major setback. And the other one being the screen sleeps after 5 seconds. Even when I changed the settings to never sleep, which was weird. You can find some other music players in the external display settings. I had a lot of fun with them. Motorola has also improved the Hinge to use tent and text mode. I never used it much except for always on display for clock, but you can explore all of them. You can install any apps and use on the external display, but as you know, apps are not particularly meant for boxy display. Motorola has a solution for this. You can now change the orientation of the display and use the apps on the sides, and the cameras won't hinder the display. Speaking of cameras, I've learned two things. If you're going to a restaurant which uses chopsticks, practice and go, or you'll end up like my wife. And the second, the cameras on Moto Razr Plus are confusing. They swapped ultra wide for a telephoto, which is a major inconvenience. There were so many instances where I needed the ultra wide camera. I mean, look at this picture. We wanted to accommodate our full house in the shot. Even when I was sending my house pictures to my parents, I had to move a lot further to capture the full house, which was a piece of cake for Z Flip 5. Colors on the Moto Razr Plus look little washed out. I'm a fan of Studio Ghibli and I love their colors. So I always prefer images from Samsung Z Flip rather than Moto Razr. Motorola has given a 2x telephoto camera which feels useless. At least they should have given like a 4x or 5x. That could have been useful. Here is my full day experience of using Moto Razr Plus. I use Google Maps on the external display for around 1 hour without any trouble. When you're going to buy plants for your house and your wife is crazy about it, think twice. You will end up buying a lot of plants which are not necessary for the house. Some of them end up dying also due to extreme heat. She doesn't know yet. At least I got my favorite plant, the fly trapper. Nothing can beat the heat of Texas with a chilled beer in this truckyard. This truckyard is amazing. You get live music, a really good food, and a ton of drinks. Here are some sample shots and videos. Motorola has made some amazing phones, but the cameras feel like they are left behind. Many of the companies have already catched up to the big giants like Samsung, iPhone, and Pixels with respect to their camera and image qualities. But Motorola cameras feel like it is stuck in time and not improving much. I hope Motorola improves its cameras as their phones are so exciting and fun to use. But because of the cameras, it's difficult to recommend others. Moto Razr has also introduced a ton of colors this year, but I really love the red phones, so I went closest to that, which is hot pink. Here are some quick pros and cons. IPX rating for full water resistance. When you are on a call, a small bubble appears on the main screen, and when you click on it, it gives you some shortcuts related to the call. It's much handy. Moto Razr also has a good battery life. It lasted me for 1.5 days, which is more than acceptable. Also, it gives you a turbo quick charge. Some of the cons being Moto Razr only supports 4 years of software update, and the software update comes little late, as you know. The vegan leather on the Moto Razr is also prone to scratches. My hot pink has already seen some wear and tear, and it's only been few weeks. Also, I wish the Moto Razr had its fingerprint on the back side like the previous Moto Razr, as the Moto Razr Plus had a lot of accidental touches and it locked me out a couple of times. Despite the confusing camera decision and some other cons, it's still refreshing to use Razr, especially when phone manufacturers are making the same redundant phones. Motorola gives a fun and innovative approach to the smartphones. Thank you for watching, guys, and keep shining.